Hello and welcome to the Armory. Today we had this SKS here walk in, and she may look a little bit on the rough side, but to be quite honest, she's in really good shape for where she came from. This one is, even though you have that blade style bayonet here, this is actually a Chinese Type 56 SKS. Serial numbers in the 2 million range with the Arsenal 26 marking on it. So this is a pre-64 SKS out of China. And one thing that I did do a little research on this after it came in, and what we found out on this is that it's potentially made in 1957. But what we're going to do is we are going to take this over to the bench. We're going to tear it all apart, and what we're going to really do is actually, as you can really tell here, it's quite easy to see that the finish on the stock is pretty much completely gone. You've got little spots here where the finish somewhat remains. I wouldn't really say it remains. It's pretty much gone. So we don't know what kind of finish we're going to do on it yet, but by the end of this video, we will. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it on the bench. We're going to get tore apart, and then we're going to get ready to... We're going to basically prep this for the stock to be refinished. So before we go to the bench, if you like firearms related content, hit that like and subscribe video. We've got plenty of stuff going on here now at the Armory Hub. We've got a whole bunch of stuff, more videos planned out for you guys. So while we're working on this video, we're going to be working on other videos at the same time so that we can try and get at least one out a week. That's our new goal now. So hit that like and subscribe so when we get one dropped, you can be one of the first ones to see it. Alrighty. So welcome back to the studio bench. So what we're going to do is we are going to tear this apart so we can get started on this wood. One thing I am going to state first is the butt plate we are going to leave on while we scrape, and if we have to sand, when we sand, and there's a reason for that. Dive into that if we need to. So overall, looking at this looks like this is just pretty much going to be a stock refinish and maintenance kind of job on this one. Yes, we got some bluing starting to wear away over here and stuff, but it's really in overall good condition. Now, when we get more towards the front here, I will show you something I did see when I was looking, because I saw it just kind of peeking through here, and we will get that taken care of. But first, we're going to start with disassembling this. Pretty much don't need very many tools to disassemble this firearm. Just for a basic field strip and cleaning, which we're not doing. We're doing a full-on maintenance on this. We would flip our lever here, flip it up, grab hold. I push this in a little bit if I have to. Just pulls it up. Allows the cover plate to come off. Easy peasy. We'll set that to the side. Pop our spring out. And one thing to note, because this is important when you put it back together. You got this straight side, and then you got this kind of curved side. Curved side goes into the bolt. So we will set that here. Next, we remove the bolt carrier group. Just pull it back, yank it out. Now, as you can see, we have our firing pin here. We have these grooves here, which carries the bolt into the bolt carrier here, and they fit in like so. That is important to notate for when you go back together, because you can either put this together as an assembly, or if you're good enough, you can put the bolt in and then put the carrier in and put it all back together. So right now we're just going to keep everything together. We're going to clean it, If you look right here, though, we are going to get all this taken care of. We got some rust coming on here. So we will get that converted. We'll put these two things in the conversion pot. They will be converted. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of that rust and re-oil this. So that we're not too concerned with. Let's flip this to the other side so you can see. All right. The next thing we are going to do is remove our gas tube. And this is where I noticed something. When I was originally doing my visual inspection, I had a little bit of red rust poking through here. So I was like, okay, what do we got going on? I did check it out. I know what we got going on. So we're going to pop our lever here. Let's get a better view for you. We're going to pop this until it clicks up like that. What that's going to do is allow us to pop the gas tube up. Now, I have had this gas tube off once already. And it was real hard because of that rust that we had right there. And as we come off, you can see it. See that nice orange active rust. We're going to put this barrel here in our steam tube to take care of that rust. But at the same time, we are also going to have to deal with the rust inside of here. So normally, this gas tube will just fall out. But because of that rust, it's kind of holding it up. So we're gonna, there's our piston. And if you look in here, hopefully it'll come up on the camera. You got that ring of rust inside there. And I'm glad the camera is actually picking this up. And that's actually, when we disassemble this, that's holding this edge of the piston. So we will get that cleaned up. That's not a problem. We will just remove our wood. If I can remember how. Looks like there's a pin. And we will double check this, but there looks like there's a pin that goes through here. Pops that off and pops that up, but we will double check that. We'll do a little research before we actually pop the wood off the gas tube to clean it all up. So now we're going to come back here, and we are actually going to flip the rifle upside down. Because now everything we have left here, just grab my little pointer, is our magazine and our trigger housing assembly. That's really all we have left to disassemble this. Yes, because we're working on the wood, we will be taking off the sling swivel, and depending on which SKS you get, the early SKSs had this swing swivel here, whereas later versions on, like, the, if I remember correctly, the Yugos and the later Chinese at post 64, they were moved to the side here. So that tells that's another good indication here of the date of this rifle being somewhere between 57 and 64. But from everything I'm seeing with the serial number being starting with a 2, I'm being told that it's a 57. Also, because if we look here, we have a long, because there's 3 versions. Oh, what do they call that? The shank. I'll put what it's actually called in the video here. You'll see it. It'll be written. But yeah, there's 3 versions of this: the long, the short, which is about half here, and then the pinned. The later versions, which were the barrels were just pinned in to save on machine time. So this does have the long one, and that also helps us date this rifle somewhere around 57 to 64. But as I said, from another video I did watch on dating these rifles, this is saying that this rifle was from 1957. So let's go ahead and get this off. First thing we're going to do is we are going to pull back the lever here, pop up our magazine. And now we have to have our magazine popped up because when we remove the trigger assembly, this is sitting over the trigger housing assembly right here. So right here is part of the trigger housing assembly that's sitting there. That's not going to allow it to come up. So we're going to come back here, and if you see here, there's a pin, and we got to, I'm going to have to do something. Let's use a bigger screwdriver. Push it in. I don't really have to be too gentle with it, but it's not the easiest one to push in. Oh, that was my fault. Don't do this. Weapon has to be on safe for the pin to be pushed in. I did forget about that. That was my fault. That's why that would not get pushed in. So like if you just did what I did, forget to push, if you start pushing that in, it's not going, make sure your safety is engaged. So now we push it in. You heard that click. It's popped out. So now we can put this back away. It's the only tool we really need to take this off is something to push that pin in. So we lift up and out we go. So very simple. We got our spring, main spring here, our hammer. I mean, just, you can see our hammer here, trigger. Just everything works simple on this. All right. With that, we'll give that a good cleaning too while we're in here, which now leaves us our magazine housing. Now sometimes you can, and you can see, yeah, we got some nice carbon buildup in there. So we'll get that all cleaned out. Sometimes you can lift it from the front here, other times from the back. Just kind of wiggle it up. And what it is there is, and I'll show you what's holding it up. So we got this little engraving here, which actually comes on. We're gonna let's get the stock off first before we talk about that. So we're gonna pull our bayonet up. You can't see it; it's off camera, but the bayonet pretty simple. It's a folding bayonet. Just pull it up. And when we go back together, I'll show you how that mechanism works. It's very simple. If you're familiar with SKSs or even the older side folding bayonet Mosins, the principle is pretty much the same on that. So now we got everything off. We got this spring here I'm not too worried about right now. And we are going to start lifting it up. And now we got our stock off. We'll set that to the side here. So now, as I was saying, while we had what you couldn't see with the wood on, you've got this on this trunnion here. I think that's what it's called. You got this indent here. What that is where your magazine housing sits on. It all sits like so. And your trigger assembly sits in these grooves here. So there's a groove on this side. There's a groove on this side. So with this up, trigger assembly sits in here. We're not going to push it down, but your takedown pin right here sits there. And that's how all this locks together. So we're going to go a little more in depth. We're going to take some of this a little further apart. We don't have to show you how to do that for certain reasons, YouTube. But, I mean, this is for basic maintenance cleaning. More than just a field strip. This is pretty much as far as you'll go. on that, so that you can get it cleaned up, get all the carbon and everything, junk out of the trigger assembly and everything. So it's relatively simple. It's really made for the average peasant to take apart and clean. One thing I did find out, this, as I said, this is from the Arsenal 26. These were made on original Russian tooling. So after the Russians stopped making them, they started making the AK-47s and everything. They sent the tooling down to China. This is a story I heard. I haven't verified it. I'm just telling you, take it with a grain of salt. They sent advisors down, set up the tooling down in China at the Jiangxi Arsenal, or what became known as the Jiangxi Arsenal, or the Triangle 26. And these receivers and barrels and everything was before they started modifying to spike bayonets and everything, were made on original Russian machinery tooling. So that, I found that pretty interesting, because I know the Chinese like to copy things, but for them to actually for the Soviets to actually send people down there with the machinery, teach them how to do it, and show them and inspect it and show them how to do it right. I think that's a pretty cool story about these, because that then tells me that this goes a little further than just being a copy. So there is still one more thing we are going to do before we start cleaning up our stock here. Let's go ahead and show you how this bayonet works. So it's pretty simple setup here. We got our movable part here. You got our pivot here. And then there's a big spring inside of here. So when you pull this, you see that the spring wants to push it back on. So you're fighting the spring when you pull this, which is what allows it to lock into place and keeps it from coming out. And the same when you're in this position with the bayonet closed, spring pushes the lock into place, and there we go. Now it's in place. So that's pretty simple. But so now, see if we can get this in picture. We still have this plunger in here that is captured under spring tension that we have to get out for cleaning. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our finger here. We're going to push in so it doesn't go flying across the room. And we are going to rotate this lever that we use to get our gas tube assembly off. We're going to push that in, lift up till it's about perpendicular, and it just, the spring and the tube come out. Now it's ready for cleaning. So now we have this ready for our maintenance. I will be taking, when we put this in the steam pot, I will be taking the bayonet off of this to make it easier for us to clean it and everything. So we will see you. We will see you when we get outside, because it's going to be a nice day. We might as well do this in our garage shop. All right, welcome out to our garage shop here. And what we're going to be doing, we got the steam tube heating up so we can get, actually we got at least 3 rifles out here right now ready for conversion. So while we're waiting on that to heat up, we're going to get working on our stock here. So what we're going to start off with, we don't ever start off with sandpaper. I actually personally don't like using sandpaper. What I start off with is this steel plate that has been sharpened and then rounded on the edges. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start scraping some of this old finish off. That way we can see the underlying wood. see what we got to work with. And all this dust here, we're not actually taking off wood when we do this, which is what we preferably want. We don't want to remove the wood. We want to remove the old varnish and nastiness off the top of the stock. So that's what we're doing with our scraper. And underneath is we're seeing the wood. And I'm not pressing very hard at all. I'm just gently just rubbing. I mean, as you can tell, I got my thumb pressing down a little bit. My finger kind of holding up on this just so we can get it scraping. Now, I used to be real big with using chemicals to strip wood. And I'll be honest, after I learned about this method, never touching the chemical strippers again. This is more time consuming, but the end result is just so much better. Sorry about that. We just had a little technical difficulty. So we're just going to get right back into it. And what we're trying to do is all we want to do is just get this gunk off. We don't, by rounding both edges, you can go this way, you can go this way. You just don't want it to be digging into the wood. You're just scraping up the old varnish and everything, the dirt, the grime. I have to come in here a little bit with a heat gun to help get rid of some of this. And there's a reason I did leave the butt plate on. And I know we were talking about that a little bit. The reason I leave the butt plate on when I'm doing this, especially when if I do start to sand it, is so that we don't round the edge and then the butt plate eventually sticks out further than the wood. So it kind of helps keep the shape of it. And as you can see, we do have multiple projects going on here. We got one of our infields here. We got the Arasaka sitting here, waiting for its turn to go into the conversion bath. So we do have quite a bit going on here at the shop. And that's amongst everything else that we already have going on. And what I try to do is I just try to keep it with the grain as best I can. I don't want to add any gouges or anything in the wood. Because again, that's not what we're looking to do. We're not looking to damage the stock. We're looking to preserve the stock. And honestly, this wood is going to turn out real nice when we're done. So, looks like our steam pot's good to go. So we're going to get over there. We're going to get something going. We're going to come back to this. All right, so we got our stock scraped down. We have, before anybody asks, to get to these finger grooves, this is what we use to scrape out the gunk from these finger grooves. I got these at the Woodcraft store, and they work amazing for getting in here. I mean, just quite simply find the one that fits best in, and you just scrape along. After we got done scraping, we used acetone And one of these purple Scotch-Brite pads, we dipped it in the acetone and just gently rubbed along the stock. And it gave it a nice, smoothest texture. No sandpaper was used on this stock. This isn't some hunting rifle. This was a military weapon, so we don't have to get that nice full gloss, smooth, every nick, every ding out of it. I personally like having dings, a little bit of dings. It gives a little bit of history of the firearm, but it's also up to customers what they want to do. So what we're actually going to be doing now is we are going to be experimenting. I was trying to figure out what we want to do for a finish on this, and I wasn't going to do my normal linseed oil that I do on our, so normally like our infield stocks and everything, or any of our walnut stocks, we use a linseed oil for the finish. We're going to try some Danish oil. This one is the red mahogany Danish oil. So I dumped some of it in this container so that we can dip our rag in. And we're going to try this. If I don't like it, if the customer don't like it, kind of thing, we're just going to end up strapping it and starting all over again. So let's see what we got. So just start rubbing it in. Definitely got to get in those finger grooves. And this stock has the serial number in it, as you can see here. And one thing to remember, the serial number on this stock does match. It matches the firearm. So I know some people care about that. All I really care about is a functioning firearm. That's just me. Does it work? Does it go bang? Does it look good? All right. That's my concern. So we're going to just continue. Just get this in here. Oil this stock up. And then after we get this all oiled up, we are going to let it set for about 15 minutes and wipe it all off. So we'll see you when we are done with all that. All right, so it's been roughly 15-ish minutes. I actually set a timer. Anytime I do stock finishing, I always set a timer. That way, I'm just very particular that way. That's just how I am. But honestly, at first, as I was applying this coating, I'm like, I don't know. But watching it dry here, it's actually kind of impressive. So let's go ahead and get this wiped off. I wasn't sure about how it would look because of that purplish color. I mean, you can see that purplish color on here. But, wow. Man, we're going to need another rag. Just working around everything. So while we're doing this, let's talk about how did I come about wanting to use something other than the linseed oil like I normally use. And I'm going to show you how I determine what kind of finish I want to put on something. Because as I said, usually, especially on anything milsurp and walnut, I will use linseed oil. It's traditional military style finish. So that's why I like to use linseed oil. But on the case for this wood is called catalpa. That's what the Chinese use. They use catalpa wood. So using the linseed oil, I would have a completely different finish than what we are getting on this. So in a second here, I will show you how I determine that I wanted to use something other than linseed oil. So if you're going to use like a linseed oil or something, usually what I do to see what kind of finish it will leave is, we can go ahead and set that down. I almost forgot to do this one. We'll use this stock here. I'll take some acetone or some water, usually water, put it on, here, we'll put it on our little pad here. And we'll just rub it on. And that'll give us an approximation of what it'll look like when we put linseed oil on it. So I wanted to go a little darker with this one. So I kind of wanted a red, and I kind of wanted a reddish color, unlike a traditional brown color. So that's why I went and was looking around, doing a little research. And I was like, you know what? Let's try this red mahogany on this catalpa. And this is just our first coat of this. We are definitely going to need more. But initially, I'm actually impressed with how this is looking. It's giving it a little, it's giving that brown color, but it's giving off a little red hint to it. Camera light is different than the light that I'm seeing. So the optics in my light are actually seeing the reds in this versus what the camera is actually showing. So we're going to let this sit, soak in, and then we are going to come back tomorrow. And unfortunately, the next time you see us, this will be all back together. So what we're going to end up doing is coming back tomorrow, hitting this with a little 4/0 steel wool, and then we are going to apply another finish. We'll do this for maybe another 4-5 days, depending on how we like it, and we will go from there. We may end up putting a wax on this, give it up a little shine, but yeah. All right, so today we just got back from going to the range, as you can see in the clips just prior to this. And our SKS turned out beautiful. When we got this, the stock itself was just missing almost all of its finish. So it was one of those things where we needed to put a new finish on this. And a new finish we did. We used that red mahogany Danish oil. And she is just absolutely beautiful. What we didn't show you on camera is that we actually did end up putting a light coating of wax on it. And we're going to put another coating of wax on it here later. But We did have some issues at the range. During our initial inspection, everything passed the initial inspection. We still go take everything to the range, make sure everything still works properly, especially before we give it back to a customer. But on this one, luckily I'm the customer on this one because this is my personal, this is going into my personal collection. My firing pin ended up breaking at the range, just the tip of it. So instead of being completely flat, now I've got little chunks missing and it's kind of angled. So I started getting on some rounds light primer strikes, which led me to believe I might have a firing pin issue. Come back, disassembled the bolt again, and sure enough, our firing pin chipped away while we were shooting it. So we got a new one ordered. It'll be here sometime this week, if not at the latest the beginning of next week. So we'll get that back in and we'll do another video of us at the range so that we can really give this SKS what it really deserves and a good punishment at the range. So you will be seeing this one more. We got some other projects we got going on here. You already know about our Arasaka project, and it's actually turning out really good. We are almost done with that one, and we'll be bringing you a video on that. We also have our Lithgow #1 Mark III that we got from Royal Tiger. We are currently in the processing of working on that as well. Being that was a personal project, we had to push that aside for other things that were coming in. But we are going to get back on that so that we can get that video out for you. We also have a Steyr carbine, M95 carbine, that we will be rebedding. The stock this is another one of those Royal Tiger deals where the stock is all worn out on it, and finding a new replacement stock on that is not the easiest thing to do, especially if we want to keep it let's just say we don't want to sporterize it. Sporterizing it, I can find something. That's not a problem. But we don't really want to do that. I'm all about conservation here. And if I can, I try to conserve a firearm, restore it back to original configuration if I can. A lot of times we can. And if that means I have to make parts, I'm going to make parts. So we got that one coming. And we also got a Smith & Wesson Victory that we are going to be removing the nickel plating off of that somebody did post-war, and we are going to be parkerizing that firearm. So there's a little more also going on with that than just removing nickel plating and parkerizing. We have to correct everything that was done to it to get it back to where it was supposed to be when it left the factory. So we got some information from Smith & Wesson on that. So hit that like and subscribe button so that when we get those videos done, they can come out and you can be notified when they are out so that you can see them. And we'll see you next time on the Armory.